nobody could do anything.
Let's have drugs.
Yeah, there was nobody, no doctor to prescribe it, so none of the nurses or other attendants.
Well, that's right. Without a doctor to order a strong pain reliever, there wouldn't be one. That's right.
Yeah. So minutes turned to hours, and hours went by, and I was getting weaker and weaker. And the doctors in the United States later told me that my life expectancy from the beginning of this incident was about 5 hours. And,
holy smokes.
This started at almost exactly 11 o'clock, and by 5 o'clock in the afternoon, I was beginning to think I wasn't going to make it.
Well, according to the doctors, you technically shouldn't have at that point. 1, 2, 3, 4. If that's 5 hours, that's 5 hours right there.
Yeah. So then, by 8:30 that night, I was hanging on to life with, like, my fingernails slipping off the cliff.
There was still no doctor there?
No. And I had never been seen by a doctor. Nobody had taken my temperature, blood pressure, and zip, nothing.
Oh, my God. What, oh, okay.
I wouldn't recommend this hospital.
Yeah, obviously not.
I would recommend to avoid this place at all costs, but anyways. So a nurse came into the room at 8:30 and said to me and my wife that she said exactly, "We're very sorry, but we're unable to find a doctor, and we'll try and get one tomorrow."
What? What? I say again, what? Didn't you consider leaving for calling another hospital, or I don't know what the options would have been. Of course, I couldn't.
Well, earlier in an emergency, I had asked if this was the right place for me to be, because I was an American, and they said, well, there is an American hospital in Paris, but there's no time to get you there because you're going to have the surgery right away. Now, at this point, I was way too weak to even contemplate, doing anything.
All right.
So when the nurse told me that there was no doctor available, I figured it was it. It was over, and there was no point in trying to hang on to life anymore. And the pain was so extreme that all I wanted to do was to be out of it. I mean, I want out of the world, out of this life. And I knew that when you died, it was, the lights off, curtain down, it's over, it's finished.
Right.
And that was preferable to hanging on any longer, because I'd been struggling for hours to stay alive with all of the strength that was depleting, and all of my will. I didn't have any will to live anymore. So I told my wife, I said, it's time for us to say goodbye. And she got up and hugged me and kissed me, and we told each other how much we loved each other, and we said goodbye to each other. It was very painful, still painful when I think about that, and for my wife too.
Yeah, of course.
And she was crying so hard, she sat back down in the chair, and I was watching her cry her heart out, because here she was watching her husband just
die.
Yeah, fade away from her before her very eyes, and there wasn't anything she could do about it. And I closed my eyes and hoped to die, and no desire to live anymore, and I went unconscious. And I don't know how long I was unconscious, probably a few minutes at the most, when I was conscious again, and I was standing next to the bed, and I felt really good. I was very aware of the situation. I knew that I was very sick and I needed to have an operation, and I was aware that I had a stomach problem, but I really didn't have the pain. Instead, I felt very alive.
Now, you were in what kind of state when you? People frequently have told me stories just like you are telling me now, of being outside your body, and or hovering over operating tables, and I'm sure you've heard all the stories. Yeah. So I'm always curious, what kind of presence did you have outside your body? I mean, could you see your own hand? Could you see yourself?
Yeah, I felt. Not only did I feel real, this is weird, but I felt more real than what would be normal. In other words, my
more real
bottoms of my feet, to try and explain this, the bottoms of my feet were very sensitive to the texture and the temperature of the linoleum floor. I felt so strange that I touched my legs and my head because my whole body was so alive, and I was aware that my eyesight was better than normal.
So all your senses were way up there.
Yeah, it was like everything was on overdrive. And I just thought this was like so bizarre, but I was really happy that I didn't have the pain anymore and that I was alive, because the last thing I remembered was dying. And
well, what about the mental concept, though, of intellectually, of standing there looking at yourself? Now that's got to have some impact.
That I found that very disturbing. So the only thing that I could think of was that the body in the bed wasn't real, and that I was trying to figure out how this could be. So I decided that what they had done was, while I was unconscious, they had made a wax duplicate of me and put it in the bed. The thing I couldn't explain was why they would do that, because it would have been quite a bit of work to bring in the people from Madame Tussauds Wax Museum and make this wax replica of me.
Sure.
But I was so mad at the hospital that I thought, well, they're just messing with me. They're doing this just to mess with me.
Yep.
But then I couldn't figure out why my wife would participate in this, deception. So I started yelling and screaming at her, what's going on here, using some pretty strong language. And she didn't move, she didn't blink, she didn't respond. And so I became really angry at her because now, in addition to this very disturbing thing in the bed that looked like me, she was pretending that she couldn't see me or hear me. Of course, she wasn't pretending, because she, of course, didn't see me or hear me.
Right. Oh, no. And so you were angry, frustrated?
Yeah, and so I had a roommate who was a 68-year-old Frenchman who spoke English, and a very nice man, and I turned to him and I was screaming and yelling in his face, what's going on here? Why are they doing this? What's that in the bed? And stuff like that. And he stared through me, from my point of view, pretending that he couldn't see me or hear me. And, so I was just getting into a rage about, this, and I kept thinking this whole thing's crazy.
And it had not yet occurred to you that you couldn't be seen?
No, not at all, because I felt so real.
Sure.
And I could touch things and feel things. I was completely
gotcha.
Corporal, whatever. And I heard people outside the room, and they were calling me by name in English, saying, Howard, you've got to come with us now. Hurry up. We've been waiting for you. It's time to go. Let's go. So I went over to the doorway of the room, and there were people out in the hallway.
People?
Yeah. And they were very, there was a small number of them, men and women. And it was very dim out in the hallway. The room was bright and well lit, but the hallway was very gray and indistinct, like a really bad TV picture.
Right.
And I said, are you from the surgeon? I said, I'm really sick. I'm supposed to have surgery. I've been waiting for hours, and and I need to have this operation. And has the doctor come to the hospital? And they said, hurry up. We've been waiting a long time for you. We've got to go now. Let's go.
Did you recognize these people at all?
No. They're very indistinct.
You say indistinct. That's interesting. You mean indistinct in form?
Yeah, shadowy.
Shadowy. Very interesting way to put it. Reverend, hold on. We'll be right back. There is a journey that lies directly ahead. My guest is the Reverend Howard Storm. I'm Art Bell. This is Coast to Coast AM.
Nights in white satin, never reaching the end.
This is Coast to Coast AM with Art Bell.
It is indeed. My guest is Reverend Howard Storm, and we're actually at the very beginning of a journey to hell, if you think you can handle it. Fascinating stuff. We'll get right back to it. All right, once again, Reverend Storm, welcome back, Reverend. I do have, if I can ask one question before we continue. just because I know where we're going. You were an atheist, and you were doing what I suppose a lot of people do at that age. But because of where we're going here, I mean, were you a really bad person? I don't know how we're going to define bad here, but I mean, were you a terrible sinner? Were you really out there, an awful person, or just sort of an average person?
No, I thought of myself as a good person.
As a good person.
And I think a lot of people, some people thought I was a nice guy, and some people thought I was a jerk, but...
Well, like life.
Yeah, it was... I didn't break the law.
Yeah, you weren't abducting people, you weren't doing bad crimes or anything like that, just sort of an average guy.
No, and I was doing what I assumed everybody in our culture was doing.